I think we'll go ahead and get started with our third speaker of the day. Mark probably he probably lives the closest, or he was the closest to come here today. We had John that came all the way from Indiana. Mark's just up the street on 24th Street. He works as a COO at Heart Ministries. He will probably share the story of how he first started getting there. He was there as a volunteer for a while, then started working, and now he's a COO. Has a lot of background in finance. He was actually vice president of a bank for a while, and God really turned him around and brought him to the place where he's at now, where he's using his expertise to really grow Heart Ministry. And I'm sure he'll share a little bit about that. It's an exciting thing that he's done there. Mark, we appreciate you being here, and it's been good to just get to know you a little bit. You're a unique individual and a very authentic individual. I appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mark Dahir, and I'm really grateful to be here. I'm going to tell you guys the truth of my experience. That's really all I have. I'm not going to tell you about anything I read in a book. I'm going to tell you about what happened to me and what I'm doing in my life today. So I'm going to tell you about 2 chapters of my life, and in the first chapter, something that was supposed to happen that never happened. And then in the second chapter, something that was never supposed to happen that happened. I'm going to center it around business, faith, and the common good. And I'm going to give you guys some takeaways that are relevant to me being the man I am today that I learned during those different stages. Lessons hard learned are not easily forgotten, right? Lessons hard learned are not easily forgotten. My biggest growth in life has come from my biggest failures. What does it mean to fail? It means to come up short. And I was never good at asking for help. So whether it's personally or professionally, young people, old people too, I encourage you to ask for help if you need it, right? 14 times in the Stations of the Cross, there's 14 of them, and 3 of them, that Jesus guy is falling down. And what's he do every time? Gets back up. And in 2 of the 3, what's happening? Someone's helping him, right? Someone's helping him. So if the Son of Man needed some help, surely we're going to need some help along the way. So when and if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help, right? And then whatever you're doing, whether it's business, whether it's your academics, do it well. You do it really, really, really well. And why do you do it really well? You do it well because you can, right? And if you do something well, through the natural course of things, you'll wind up exactly where you're supposed to be in whatever system you are in. And by a system, and systems I've been in, it can be a mod in a prison, it can be my family system, it can be Creighton's system, it can be where you work. It's a different place with different people and a different set of rules. And the common denominator in every system is you're going to be there. And hopefully you will bring that God person with you. So I'm the youngest of 3 boys. My father's an only child, Lebanese male, 5 generations, all males. And my brothers and I did not get a lot of sensitivity training. We were all taught to be very good businessmen, though. Everything in our family was always business. It's business. When there was adversity, we kept it in the family. And we were raised to do what it takes to get the job done. And if God is for you, who could be against? Right? If God is for you, who could be against? So business, everything was business. You're negotiating, you're working with people to work towards a resolution that is acceptable to both parties involved. So even though I didn't know it, I was always modeling my father, who over time, I guess you could say, became kind of my God, which wasn't a good thing. That's another thing. Whatever you think about the most, I believe in your higher power. So what do you all think about the most? And if it's not God's will, then you might want to reevaluate that. Life is short. None of us is getting out of this thing alive. God gave you this life and he has a plan for you. What are you doing with the gifts that he gave you? So my father, I remember him, who was an accountant by trade, good accountant, worked for one of the big 4s, did a great job, didn't like some of the politics going on in the big 4s, so he started working at Omaha National Bank, which used to be in the Woodman Tower. Eventually at the top office at the Woodman Tower, but I'll get to that. I remember my dad getting ready, be putting on his tie, And he'd be asking me math problem, what's this, what's this, what's this? And real quick, like, my mind was always good when it came to math, numbers, figuring stuff out. I would answer those problems. I'd occasionally get one wrong. My dad, he got it wrong, it was okay, but he kind of looked at you like, come on, you know, you could have done a little better than that. OCD, perfectionistic, just like his son. But I loved having that time with my dad. And I'm grateful that today I have more time with my daughter than he had with me. He needed to go make something for the family. He didn't have much growing up. And he believed that providing for us was the best way that he could show us his love. So I would love that time with him, and I would love being able to get those answers right. And I crave that time with him. So over time, I always did well in school. I went to Creighton Prep, all boys Jesuit school. My brothers went there. My dad went there. My dad's dad went there. Those Ignatian values, praise, service, reverence of God. How do we invite God into every aspect of our lives? Have a relationship, to talk and to listen, to pray and to meditate. And that's something I didn't know anything about back then. I was self-conscious. I was insecure. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be the toughest guy. I wanted the best looking girl. And we also talked about being men for others, right? That was our motto. Men or women for others. It's all boys. But what's it mean to be a man for others? What's it mean to be a woman for others? I believe it is in being a part of with someone else that I disappear. Me, that flawed human nature that is egotistical, self-centered, and insecure fades away, and I become a part of something that is true, something that is real, a human connection. I also believe that a friend in need is a friend indeed. I always believed that. I did not like it when people were picked on. I did not like it when the little guy did not have a voice. That is just something that God gave me. So I wound up going to Miami of Ohio, had a 4.0. I tested well. It was a top 10 finance school in the country. It was then that I remember I smoked weed for the first time, right? My mom's brother had died of a drug overdose, so my brothers and I were raised no drugs. So in the Dahir family, we did not do drugs, and drugs were a no-no. I drank, I binge drank. The guys I played sports with, we drink a lot. Young people, I think Warren Buffett said this, habits too light to feel until too hard to carry. Habits too light to feel until too hard to carry. If you're dabbling with a little something maybe you shouldn't dabble with, if you're wired like me, be careful, because one day it might be too hard to carry. And that was my experience over time. I failed miserably at Miami of Ohio. I was non-academically suspended with 2 weeks left my freshman year. I was boxing, I was bouncing, I was partying. I was the man, I guess you could say. It felt good not to be a part of my family where everything was business. It felt good to go out and be myself. At least I thought. I was trying to figure out who I was. 2 things I've learned that I've utilized today that are probably the most important thing about me being an effective father and businessman. Because remember, everything is business. It is responsibility and humility. Responsibility and humility. Humility is a modest or low view of one's own importance. I was raised to be important. I was Mike Dahir's son. Mike Dahir eventually owned a bank. It was on the top floor of the Woodman Tower. And I was always taught, you're a Dahir. To whom much is given, much is expected. Go compete, go win, go do what it takes to get the job done. And then responsibility. It is hard to be responsible when you are not humble. And responsibility is the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. Your teachers are not always going to be here. Your parents might not already be here. And me, I never knew what to do. What do I do? What do I do? I always had this energy inside, but I never knew what to do with it. Today, I let go, I let God, and I do the next right thing. Action, 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 action. It's been my experience. You can act your way into a different way of thinking, but it's very hard to think your way into a different way of acting. So when in doubt, act. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. So I always believed, and I was a big believer, and I thought God favored me. You know, that grace thing. When a should have lost, I won. Things went well for me. I didn't study, I didn't prepare, but I did 100%. I was decent looking, I was intelligent, I was pretty strong, I had good hand-eye coordination, and you could put me in a predicament normally I put myself in, but I could always pull up. I could always pull up. So if you're the type of person who likes to cram, who can read stuff and kind of memorize it, procrastinates, maybe consider not needing to do things through that pattern and maybe be ahead of the curve. Don't put yourself in a situation where you need to do this. I wound up transferring to University of Arizona in Tucson. They had a psych law program that was attractive to me. Through my actions and my increased drinking and drug use, I was getting exposure to the law. So I thought maybe I should get to know something about it. And then psychology. I wasn't raised to deal with my feelings. I had a girl who was my high school sweetheart. I broke up with her my freshman year in college, and I did not know how to deal with that feeling, my emotions, psychology. What are these feelings thing? It's business. Everything's business. How are feelings involved in business? It's the bottom line. It's being profitable. It's a return to your stakeholders, your shareholders. It's going out in the marketplace, attacking that marketplace, and winning. Having a product that your customers need or want, doing it better than the other guy. You got to be the lowest cost or a differentiator. I was always taught to be a differentiator and customer service, right? You treat the customer well. And if I'm treating the customer well and I got a good reputation and I'm good at business, that's in the interest of the common good, right? I'm good at business. I'm helping everyone else out. Now, I was a teller when I was a senior in high school. My brothers and I all were, I think a junior as well. And when I would come back in the summers, I would also work at the bank. So eventually college wasn't something that I was ready for. I think I was 23, 24 years old. And Dad said, you don't deserve it, but I'm going to give you a chance to work at the bank, right? My brothers worked there. They're 3 years, 4 years older than me, 10 months apart. And one of us was going to take over at the bank. My dad had left Omaha National. He had purchased the bank along with some other people. And that's what my brothers and I were going to do. At least one of us, because Dahirs were bankers. So another thing, if you're in a business, it's been my experience and it's benefited me in both places, know it from the ground up, right? I was a teller. I oversaw the tellers. I worked in new accounts. I worked in customer service. I was an assistant branch manager. I was a branch manager. I oversaw the wire desk. I did loans. I was a loan officer. And then I was a vice president. So I knew the bank from the ground up, and that value it gave me for my customers was great because I knew when they came into the bank, which is something that they could have done anywhere because we pretty much had the same stuff, right? It's a fungible product. The difference was me. I could get what they wanted, when they wanted it, how they wanted it. If it was important to them, it was important to me. That's another thing in business. Know your customers, and if it's important to them, make sure it is important to you. So as a lender, I was really good, right? I had a decent emotional IQ. I'm good at reading people. Remember, it was always business. We were taught to negotiate. You were negotiating at the dinner table about eating your liver and onions or not, right? With Dad, and that was always a losing negotiation, which is why I went to the bathroom and spit that out in the toilet and came back or would drink some milk to take it down. But we were always negotiating, and that's a very valuable skill set. Like I told you with accounting is a very valuable skill set. I banked a lot of businesses. Someone with an accounting background, it was always beneficial to the way they did business, having that analytical mind. So as a vice president, I developed the most business. My fee income was the highest. My loans were the highest. My deposits were the highest. I got to sit at so many tables with so many different people and learn what made a good manager, the who part, and then what businesses succeeded or failed. You know, bars, restaurants, retail, highest mortality rate of any other business, billboards, storage facilities, highest profit margin of any other business. Tombstones, baked goods, highest profit margin actually. Highest rate of return on your money will be billboards, storage facilities, right? The amount of money you make on those through your lease income, rental income, versus what you need to pay off, that what you need to pay off will be done quickly, and you will own that asset free and clear and have a ton of cash flow. My brother did the billboard business in Chicago, built and sold 2 billboard companies, killed it. Splits time in Truckee with his 3 girls and in Wisconsin, and has business dealings going all over the country, right? He has Choose Fit on his white t-shirt because us Dahers don't wear suits anymore, wears flip-flops. I'll say this, he smokes weed, he can smoke weed. A guy like me can't smoke weed, and he gets to be present raising his 3 daughters all the time. That's my brother though. That's not me. You gotta learn who you are, and you need to figure out how to be true to yourself. And to me, that means what things are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? And what things aren't you doing that you should be doing? If you want to sleep with peace in your heart and you want to be able to share space with somebody and look them in the eye and tell them the truth based on your personal experience, the less things you have on both sides of those ledgers, per my experience, the more comfortable you'll be in your own skin. The more you'll be able to wear life like a loose-fitting garment, so to speak. So I was accumulating DUIs as a banker. I was really good at it, made a lot of money. I had a big house. I had a BMW 750 Li. You got to dress the part. When you show up, you got to have the right pen. You got to get out of the right car. I had an Infiniti QX56. I had a Porsche 911 Carrera 4SC, black on black, graphite package, one for the winter, one for driving to work. You got to have a sedan, and you got to have a nice sedan. That's the way I was raised. And then a car to drive around for fun. So I was accumulating a lot of stuff. I was getting stock. I was getting 6-figure bonuses. But there was always something missing. That personal satisfaction. I knew it deep down. And also, I was no good at dealing with life on life's terms. I was always having that energy inside me in my mind turning, and I didn't like the way I felt. And I wasn't raised to deal with the way I felt, which is why I drank and drugged. And the problem wasn't the drinking and the drugging. The problem was me. So I went to rehab twice. I went to rehab, I think, after my 3rd DUI when I was 25. The courts told me I had to do it. I went to rehab after my 5th DUI when I was 30. A place called The Meadows in Wickenburg, Arizona. 40 grand, 40 days. One of the top treatment centers in the country. Top finance school in the country. Top treatment center in the country. Huh? So they told me you have cirrhosis of the liver, beginning stages. You see this guy, his skin's yellow and his eyes are yellow. He's jaundiced. Keep drinking. That's what's going to happen to you. They took me in an ambulance to a place, put me in a little zip up, clear package room where they could put some stuff under my tongue to get me to calm down because my injection fraction, or my fraction injection, my heart wasn't beating out enough blood. I was 30 years old. I was 225 pounds. I was in the best shape of my life on the outside, but on the inside, I was dying. I was killing myself. I remember calling my mom. Mom, I'm dying. I'm killing myself. What are you talking about? Mark, you? But you're tough. You're strong. Well, I was dying. So I remember coming back to the bank. I'd been to treatment, and I was trying to figure out how to be a part of the workplace. It was my dad or it was my boss. Never knew which one it was going to be. I was trying to do business. I was trying to manage my personal life and my habits, which were getting too hard to carry. And I couldn't talk to anyone about it because if you're in trouble, you keep that in the family. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. Don't let anyone know, because if they knew, that'd be a sign of weakness. And I didn't want to be portrayed as weak, even though I'd always been scared and somewhat weak on the inside. If you want to put me in a situation like I wound up that I'll tell you about that most people couldn't get out of, I was strong in that way. But when it came to just being okay in my own skin, I've always struggled with it. I still struggle with it. I'm insecure. I have a lot of fear. I can have a lot of anxiety on the inside. I don't believe in taking medications, not that it's not right for some people, but I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic, and it's not okay for me. So I wound up getting a girl pregnant and having a daughter. Every man should have a daughter or a sister, and this little girl, just the most beautiful thing in my life. first time I've probably ever known true love. And loving that little girl and knowing she loved me and knowing she was counting on her daddy. This irresponsible, not humble, big ego guy who was killing himself on the outside and on the inside was doing the same, right? Your insides don't always match your outsides, people. That's why it's important how you treat people. That is the most important thing. No one is going to remember where you worked, how much money you made, what your title was. They're going to remember the way that you made them feel. So my life changed overnight one day. Remember, I'm telling you about something that was supposed to happen that didn't take over this bank. I got a 7 DUI on my way to work. It was 8.5 years ago. I had a head-on collision. I hurt another guy who, thank God, recovered 100%. And I cracked 3 vertebrae in my neck. I fractured 6 ribs. I punctured both lungs, and I fractured my right hip. Went to the hospital. I woke up. Someone was helping me breathe. I couldn't talk, and scared. I remember vividly what happened. I remember driving and nodding out, hitting this guy head on. SUV, no seatbelt. And I remember being on the side of that truck. I couldn't get any air. I couldn't breathe. I was scared. But I'm not scared in those situations because normally I kind of know what to do when I'm dealing with adversity because I've had a lifetime out of adversity. My poor choices, right? That's another thing. We all make poor choices. It is only a mistake if you do not learn from it. I make poor choices every day, and I do not make too many mistakes anymore. So learn from your choices. That represents the truth of an experience. And remember, my biggest failures have been my biggest lessons, my biggest growth. So it doesn't matter if you've fallen down. Remember, the Son of Man, it matters that you're getting back up and what you do with that. So 8 days later, I lost 30, 40 pounds. I exercised a lot. I was taken in a wheelchair facing a 1 to 20, right? Facing a 1 to 20. And what's my mind wrapping it around? How many of my daughter's birthdays am I going to miss? And that's hard math to do. That kid who was so good at doing math was his dad. I couldn't make sense of that math. And I also had to go to the isolation unit, the hole. I'm in a metal box 23 out of 24 hours a day. They let you out for a half hour in the morning, a half hour at night, in shackles, walking up and down a dark hallway. It's a little slit where they give you your food. I remember I was looking at this cell. It was for people who are on suicide watch, detoxing, and not medically fit to be with the general population. And I knew for the first time in my life, I was going into a situation that I could not handle, right? I'd always been scared to deal with myself, be alone with that person. Drugs, alcohol kind of turned it off. But I knew I was going to do something I could not do. And you hear this sometimes, but to me, it was my experience. Something inside me said, help me, help me, help me. Acts, adoration, contrition, thanksgiving, supplication. That is not praying. Those are rote prayers. I still say the Our Father. But that relationship I talked about, talking, listening to God, that is what I got the gift to develop. Help me, help me, help me. I'd ask the CO for a book, something I can read. You got to do a kite. You're not going to get it for 4 days. I'm coming off drugs. My body is mangled. I cannot go be alone in that place alone, wondering how many of my daughter's birthdays I'm going to miss, thinking about all the deals that I left on the table, thinking about my reputation and what I've done to my father's reputation. Mark Dahir, 7 DUIs, methamphetamine, all over the news. Help me, help me, help me. Dahir, you got a Bible? Thanks. The Bible is called Free on the Inside. Remember, your insides don't always match your outsides. Learn to be free on the inside with yourself. It's the best thing I can give you today. Insides. It's your insides. But I got that Bible. I went in that little space, and I knew 4 things to be true. 1, there was a God. I felt it. I knew it. I knew there was a God. Yahweh, I know you are with me, standing always by my side. You guard me from the foe, and you lead me in ways everlasting. Hearing that church song that I hadn't heard in so many years. But I knew he was there. I knew I had a mind. I knew I had a body. And I knew I had a spirit. I knew I would be out someday. And I knew if I was the same man that went in, I'd be back. So how do I improve my mind? my body and my spirit each day just a little bit so I can be ready for that opportunity that God will eventually give me. So I challenge you, what books are you reading right now? What people are you associating with? What are you doing for your mind? It's a muscle. Strengthen it, exercise it. Your body, right? A strong body leads to a strong mind. It is a temple of the Spirit. If you do not use it, you will lose it. And then your spirit, that talking and that listening to God. What are you doing to be in the moment with God? Be still and know that I am God. So I broke time into 15-minute increments in my head. I exercised with that Bible, everything I could do. I was weak. I was broken down. I lost 45 pounds in 8 days. I was mangled. I read that Bible. I started at the beginning. I've always wanted to read the Bible. Let's read it cover to cover. Maybe this is an opportunity. Someone had told me mindfulness. Space between those two claps. How do you learn to breathe and observe your 5 senses? Be in that moment. So I worked on breathing. And then I played a golf course. I played since I was a kid for 15 minutes. On the first tee, I'd hit the shot. Go hit the next shot. On a dewy winter or a dewy summer morning, seeing my ball roll through the dew and the rooster tail, being able to see my line. And for those moments when I could get there, I wasn't in that cell. So fast forward 6 months into county, and it's not good being in county because it's dead time. You're in the same mod. You don't get out to see the sun, the moon, and you're just stuck in a spot. And you're with a lot of people doing a lot of bad things. I've read more books than I'd ever read in my life. I was exercising 3 times a day. I read a book called A Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. And it taught me how to talk and listen to God. And that's Ignatian spirituality. How do we invite God into every aspect of our life? And I was inviting God into every aspect of my life. And I was as spiritually fit as I had ever been in my whole life. I'll fast forward. I got out 8 months later, someone who was not good at taking care of themselves, and who was doing high-end foreclosures, buying them and selling them. I know real estate like the back of my hand. I was making some good money, but I was having the people build them out for me. I was trying to do a guy a favor I was locked up with. That guy was a meth dealer. So I got down to 175 pounds. I was up for 3 or 4 days at a time. I was losing my touch with reality. I went to dinner, a place called the Venice Inn that is not around anymore, with Father Tom, and I said, I'm dying. I'm dying inside. I got no hope. I can't believe my life's come to this. I'm on meth. I don't know what to do. He said, well, maybe go somewhere else and try not to think about yourself. Maybe help someone else. There's this place called the Heart Ministry Center next to our church. It's in North Omaha. Like, you think they'll let me come? Become a felon? Yeah, they'll let you come, he said. So I met this guy named John Levy, who was the executive director at the time. He's the head of the Bill and Ruth Scott Foundation now. He gave us $1.5 million, which was a leading gift for this building I'm going to tell you we wound up building. But we talked and we hit it off, and he said, yeah, you can come down and volunteer. Right? There were 4 employees at the time. We were going through 300,000 pounds of food, and we'd have about 275 families come through. So I went in, and I was so scared, and this lady named Miss Letitia says, you see those cans? Put them on that shelf. I think everyone wants to have a purpose-driven life and spend themselves on some sort of worthy cause. Purpose-driven life and to spend themselves on a worthy cause. They were helping people in need. I could take that can and I could put it on that shelf. So I put 1 can on the shelf at a time. And then the way my analytical mind works, as I was able to get off of drugs and heal, the Heart Ministry Center is a place of healing, I was able to say, you know what? Why are we putting the cans on the shelf that way? For this reason. Well, if we did it this way, wouldn't it be more efficient, more thoughtful? Yeah. Why are we doing this? I don't know. If you're ever in a workplace or you're doing something and you don't even know the answer to why you're doing it, that is unintentional. You're not getting the most juice out of that fruit. So I ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions when you're in the business place. And as I was asking questions and thinking about the Heart Ministry Center, who was I not thinking about? Me. All my problems are right here. When I'm with you all, thinking about you, how can I be of service? The common good, God's will. I'll tell you a little business in a minute. Man, everything's kind of okay. I'm not afraid anymore. So over time, through that experience, 4 months later, coming 40 hours a week and being a really hardworking volunteer, because I was trying to get clean, which I did, John says, hey, you want a job? My skill set was perfect for that organization, right? I was trying to get mine at the bank, like I named this talk, which I've never done something like that, but you're never going to get yours in that place. Everyone's trying to get theirs out there. And once you got it, there's something more to get. 3 cars, big house, money, well, what's next? There's always more. It's one, I stopped trying to get mine and tried to start thinking about everyone else and this God person who gave me life and what he wanted me to do, that I started having things happen around me that I couldn't have planned, that were consistent with God's will, not mine. So we wound up having 4 people when I got a job. John says, what do you want your title to be? What do you mean, what do I want my title to be? You're the boss, aren't you supposed to choose a title? Right, I'm used to doing business in a top-down way. There's one person on top of that org chart, there's people underneath, and it all goes to here. Flat organization. We don't want titles, we don't want names. We're all the same. We're all spokes on the heart-shaped wheel. There's our mission. And I'm not used to playing in the sandbox that way. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm trying to compete. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to be the guy on the new business development report who's number 1, who's getting the biggest bonus. We're going to be thoughtful, Mark. What's it mean to be thoughtful? We're going to take anyone and everyone into account before we make a decision. What are you talking about? I know the right decision. It's pretty simple. It's this. Well, it might be that. I don't care about the right or wrong one. I care about being thoughtful and everyone being a part of. How does everyone around you feel? And then meeting people where they are. Not head to head, but heart to heart. Everyone's a little bit different. Your coworkers, your customers, the people you're doing business with, they're human beings just like you. Get to know them. Get to know them. If you get to know them, you'll be able to work more effectively with them and for them. So over time, I want to be the relationship manager. Because I know you got volunteers, you got clients, you got employees, and there's no we, there's you and me, and there's divisiveness. Divisiveness within an organization will kill it. It will kill it. There has to be a cohesive vision, a cohesive culture, and everyone marching to the beat of the same drummer. So I knew there needed to be some relationship management. Eventually the board wanted me to be the operations director. Look, you're doing some stuff, you need a bigger title. Eventually I was the associate executive director. Then organically something happening through the natural course of things. God's will, always God's will. I get on my knees in the morning because I can have a bad day before I get out of bed. Remember, action. Faith without works is dead. Get on my knees. God, please allow me to align my will with yours so that I can see the world through the eyes of love and receive all the gifts from above. Aligning my will with God's will. After John left and he wanted me to be the executive director on my review, another guy came in, went to the same school. I kind of had a problem with that. I talked to John. He's like, you wouldn't want the job anymore. It's an administrative job now. You're not an administrative guy. I trusted John. I believed him. Okay. My ego. Remember that humility thing. God is always watching. God is always watching. How do I make the person next to me better? That's been one of the biggest things that's benefited me at the Heart Ministry Center. It's doing it and doing it well, like I told you, and trying to make the other people around me better. I fade away. That fear, that anxiety, that doubt goes away, and I'm with you, and we're doing it together. And guess what happens when you make the people around you better? You make yourself better. You can never go wrong doing that. So I would have some talks with God at night and say, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. I'm better than that guy. I'm more capable. I could do that job better. And that didn't really matter. The place had saved my life. The place gave me a chance to be something, be a part of something I believed in. And I knew I'd still be the guy who's stacking cans on shelves. I'd do anything just to be a part of this thing. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'll be doing what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm supposed to be doing it. Eventually, I was the associate executive director. Eventually, the executive director called me in and said, hey, you're better at this, this, and this than me. Would you be the chief operations officer? I'll be the CEO. I'll handle the money. I'll handle the marketing, and you oversee our operations. You handle the people. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you. I was kind of doing it anyway, but an org chart. This is business. You got to have an org chart. People need to know who does what and what the chain of command is. Who's overseeing the areas. Everyone's got to be ascribing to that and doing it in the same way. It needs to stay in their own lane. A business is only as healthy as the org chart and the people within that org chart who are working. So over time, through God's will, me learning how to get out of the way, be right-sized, be humble, be responsible, we're able to build a new building, right? We went to going from that 200 to 300,000 pounds of food, 275 families, to 3.6 million pounds of food, to 600 families. Omaha is the second wealthiest set of foundation money in the country behind San Francisco. If you do good work, the foundations will notice and want to support us. Build a new building. Okay. I got to write out the design of the building because I was the guy who had the truth of the experience. Remember what I said about working from the ground up? I was the guy who evolved our pantry to be the way it was. And sitting down with an architect and drawing up something, and now we're going to move into it next week, has been one of the most surreal experiences of my life. Drawing on a piece of paper, you give it to someone, they kind of revise it. Next thing you know, you're in this building, you're sitting in your office, you're like, how did this happen? I've been at this place for 6 years. I've been in cubes. I've been in built offices and warehouses that were never supposed to be there. I've been shuffled here and there with my briefcase that my boss and mentor, John Levy, gave me because I still can't drive. It's been 9 years and it's been moving all around. All of a sudden now I got this nice office. We're building and are finishing a grocery store style choice food pantry that will be one of, if not the nicest ones in the country. I was able to start a job placement program based on my personal experience. Top 2 reasons were in prison, people were in prison. Top 2 reasons they came through the door of the Heart Ministry Center, per my experience. Remember, no substitute for experience. God's got a plan. You don't always know how he's going to utilize you. 1, fragmented, fractured family structure. Nothing healthy to be a part of that involves love and accountability. The second one is lack of education or practical job skills. In any business, you are only as good as your people. We did not have people to run the warehouse. We were growing. I was working hard. I was not working smart. We needed some troops. How do we get those troops? Well, let's develop a job placement program based on my personal experience. I'm helping people out anyway, informally. How do we do it so it's independent of me? How do we do it so it's sustainable? How do we do it so it accounts for those 2 factors why the people are here? So we can have everyone move forward. Our mission is providing food, healthcare, and a way forward to people severely affected by poverty in the Omaha area so we can put ourselves out of business. And me with that analytical mind, who's doing math with his dad, who's knowing it's always business, I was able to develop a job placement program called Fresh Start. So they are the ones who run the center and give us the human resources we needed to grow it. And without them, we are not able to move forward into self-sufficiency. It's a 15-week job placement program for men and women moving forward into self-sufficiency. Who are the people that we want to work with? We want to work with people dealing with generational poverty, chronically unemployed, addiction getting into recovery, mental health issues being addressed, gaps in employment, they're on general assistance, want to get off, coming out of incarceration, going through the reentry process. Are they a highly motivated person that wants to change, who is honest, who is open-minded, who is willing? Business, remember, we're going to sign a contract with you. Not so different than the loans I did. There's terms. You're going to do what you say you're going to do. We're going to do what we say we're going to do. Core values, that's another thing within an organization. Compassion, accountability, community, excellence. Those are the 4 core values of the Heart Ministry Center. Without compassion, there can be no accountability. Without accountability, you are not able to tell someone the truth based on your personal experience and redirect something. Without excellence, you have nothing. You have nothing. And without community, people are not able to be a part of, to share space together. That is why those are our core values. We sign a contract with you and we agree to pay your bills over the following 3 months to help you get your expenses organized, prioritized, and on a consistent basis. You meet with a facilitator once a week to go over your food, your clothing, your housing, your transportation, that cash flow piece. You see a mental health specialist once a week. You go to group therapy once a week. You go to a guided yoga and meditation class once a week. We do credit reconstruction. We do resumes with you. We do mock interviews. We purchase your work clothes prior to earning your job. Open a savings account with a little initial deposit. A checking account to direct deposit your paycheck. We do a predictive index, which is a personality test that looks at your strengths, your weaknesses, any management strategies, and then we meet with you on an ongoing basis to look at your consistency, reliability, work ethic, attitude. Those are 4 soft skills per my experience in any business that if you can be 4 for 4 in those, you will not only not work yourself out of a job, but you will create opportunity for yourself. And we had the perfect work setting. This pantry, we're getting 60,000 pounds of food a week. We're seeing 600 families a week. We empower and we hold people to very high performance standards. That's another thing in any business, empowering and holding people to very high performance standards. If you can be 4 for 4 in those soft skills, you will graduate to one of our 29 community employers. And we will continue working with you, with the only difference being we are no longer subsidizing your income. It is being generated through earned income. We do what's called a pro forma compensation action plan. We know what your expenses are. We've got them organized, prioritized on a consistent basis. We know the income you're going to get. I used to bank all these people. I'm coming back sometimes with my tail between my legs, but I loaned you the money to start your business. I've known you for a lot of years. I tell you about this program. Would you give our people a chance to work? Yeah. They're going to give us an opportunity, but if we're not sending them quality human resources, those doors are going to shut. We started with just 1 business, 29 now. But we look at your income, net out your taxes. We see what that cash flow is going to look like. We cast it out over 6 months. There's hope in something like that. I learned that from being in prison. You get a dream sheet. It tells you how much time you're going to do and when you're going to get out. And if you can stick to the plan and not get in the way of your good time, you're going to get out. So we give them a dream sheet of sorts. We meet with them once a month. Bring in your paychecks. You got to be earning that income. Bring in your checking account history to show your discipline to those expenses. At 3 months, you get $250 for being a part of our graduate group. At a year, you get $500. At 2 years, you get $1,000. At month 4, if it is not an unnecessary hindrance to your cash flow, we will get you an automobile, pay for the licensing as well as the first month's worth of insurance. And we also have a rent program that pays for 100%, 75%, 50%, 25% of your rent to help subsidize your cash flow. It is a thoughtful opportunity, and like any other opportunity, it works if you work it. So we have had 54 graduates, 34 are still working. We've had 8 working over 2 years. We've had 1 working over 3 years, and we got a lot of momentum built up. So through that momentum, we've had the opportunity to do a social enterprise, right? I went out and visited Father Boyle in Los Angeles after I read Tattoos on the Heart. I read Tattoos on the Heart and I said, well, how do we do this in a way where we're meeting North Omaha, where it is 4 years ago? We got to start businesses. What's a social enterprise? We're creating jobs for our program participants who aren't ready for our community employers, viable goods and services for North Omaha to utilize, and then we want to do multiple social enterprise over time. We're in talks with the guy who just left the room, Dean Hendrickson, as well as talking about doing a trade-specific business unit so we can create a cluster of consumer activity so people from other parts of the city will come down, spend money, and connect it to North Omaha. North Omaha is one of the most impoverished areas in the country. 1 out of every 5 children do not know where they're getting their next meal. Homicide rate African Americans under 18, #1 in the country. STD rate African Americans, #1 in the country. Overall poverty rate African Americans, #2 in the country. That is in the half-mile radius of the Heart Ministry Center. There's not been new construction going on in and around 24th Street there in a long, long time. We just raised $7.1 million. Go check out the building. It's really nice. Let's open a laundromat. Father Boyle, 9 social enterprises over 25 years, improves one of the most impoverished areas in LA. Gang members coming out of incarceration, working next to each other who would normally be killing each other. 8 of those are not fiscally responsible. I do not believe in having a social enterprise that is not fiscally responsible. We're preaching self-sufficiency to our clients, so why not figure out one that would be fiscally responsible? Well, maybe we should do those baked goods, right? Highest profit margin of anything out there. We're not going to get into the tombstone business. One day someone says, what about a laundromat? What is the supply? What is the demand? What are the demographics in the area? Who can I talk to who's in the business? Because that felt like a good idea to me. So that's another thing. Copy off of people, but copy off the right people. It's going to have your spin because you're doing it. So I called someone who owned Dundee Bank that I went to prep with. You bank any laundromats? Yeah, talk to this guy. South Omaha, same size of what you're thinking of doing. Relationship, how you treat people, heart to heart, sharing space. He's giving me the financials, showing me the keys to the kingdom. Here's what I learned in doing it. Make these considerations. Okay, who sells you your laundry equipment? Who sells you your equipment, the washers, the dryers? It's this Todd Santoro guy. He's a guy who owned laundromats and operated them, but wound up getting into the distribution business, so he had to get out. Talk to him. Talking to him gives me the numbers for laundromats in the area based on national averages. How many spins? You know, it's all based on spins. Accounting. Do it in a conservative way. Conservatism. Sit down with somebody. I used to look at business plans, but I never did business plans. So asking an entity through the state to have somebody sit down, it's not NEDCO, that's why I used to loan through, but it's somebody like that going down to UNO and sitting down with this girl. She loves doing financials. So I got to take Todd's pro forma numbers he gave me for national averages, apply them to North Omaha, utilize this girl's expertise in doing Excel spreadsheets, and put together 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year pro forma financials, projections. Guy I know who's an entrepreneur has a girl who's awesome at doing business plans. She's a consultant. She comes down to the center, telling her about the vision, getting her to do a business plan where, as a banker, if you saw this business plan, any question that you would want answered has been answered. You might think it's going to work or not think it's going to work, but when you read that, you're going to say those guys were thorough. That's another thing. If you're starting a business, do your research. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Before you hit a marketplace, make sure you are ready. So 6 months from now, we will be opening that laundromat. We are creating 4 jobs. It is called Fresh Start, the name of the job placement program I started. We will have a red neon sign out there, and we're really excited about it. $1.2 million of the money we raise is going towards that. It'll be the nicest laundromat in the city. Why should it be the nicest laundromat in the city? It's in the heart of North Omaha. Why is your building so nice? It's in the heart of the North Omaha. Why not? Shouldn't it be nice? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't it be nice? And it is. And if we're able to be successful with that social enterprise, we're going to have the opportunity to do multiple social enterprises. We move into our new building next week. I cannot believe it's happening. I cannot believe God utilized me to be a part of it, because I'm as flawed as any human being that I have ever met. And something is happening that never should have happened. I'm a part of something. It's allowed me to heal while I'm able to be a part of other people healing. You cannot give away something you can't. You cannot give away something you do not have, young people. You cannot give away something you do not have, and you cannot keep it if you do not give it away. And that is the common good. It's sharing your experience, strength, and hope with other people. We are all connected in our love, and we are all connected in our suffering. That is the truth of my experience of being at the Heart Ministry Center. So once we move into that building, we're repurposing our existing building, which is right next door and connected, into case management offices. We're taking 2 dental chairs to 4 dental chairs. We're taking 3 medical offices to 4. And right along 24th Street there, we're going to do our first social enterprise. 24th Street used to be the street of dreams prior to the race riots. So how can we improve it? I got a father who used to be a banker, and he said, "You're crazy. You can't ever do anything like that. You may be able to do a business unit down there. Think it's going to be successful?" Dad, maybe it's going to take 3 or 4 generations to improve this thing. What if we can make it 1 or 2? Wouldn't that be a worthy cause? Something to spend yourself on? By being a part of something you believe in, over time you can start believing in yourself. Tomorrow is promised to nobody. Tomorrow is promised to nobody. We are all going to die. We are all doing time. What are you doing with your time? 8 hours you're asleep, what are you doing with the other 16 hours? Anything you practice, you will get better at it. And tomorrow is just another today. The time is always right now. Where you go, you will always be, and what you bring is contagious. I ask you, where will you go, and what will you bring? I hope it is aligned with God's will. I hope it is in business if that is your choice. I hope you have faith. Remember, faith without works is dead. And be thoughtful. There's other people out there. We're not the only ones playing in this sandbox. Thank you very much.
We'll take a few minutes for some questions. If you have anything you'd like to ask Mark, good time to do it.
So you were in Douglas County Correctional Center,
Yes, for 9 months before I went to Lincoln Correction Center.
and at Douglas County, is that where you were in isolation?
Yes.
I go there.
Yes, the only time I got to leave my mod was twice a month. People came down with an AA meeting, and although we were in orange jumpsuits, people from the outside coming in and sharing their time and going to another spot versus being in the mod, it meant so much to me. So I have a lot of respect for anyone who does that. Keep doing it if you get a chance. It means a lot to a lot of people. Good to see that. Yes, ma'am.
What's your experience been like recovering from addiction?
It's just for today. It's one day at a time. It's a program anonymity, but if anyone thinks they might have an issue, I could fail in my recovery, so I don't want you to think if I fail, it's negative to the program. The program works if you work it. I go to a lot of meetings. I do exactly what they tell me to do. My best thinking got me 7 DUIs and in prison. I know I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. It involves action, it involves steps, it involves meetings, it involves a sponsor, and it involves God of your understanding. Steps 2 and 3 are the main steps that get you through all the others. Came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore your life to sanity. Insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And then we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. To let go, let God do the next right thing. My will and God's will, where it's God's will, not mine. I'm here to serve. I'm a spiritual being living in a physical world. The only reason I'm here is to prepare my soul for eternity. So God, take with me as you want, and please allow me to serve your will. I'm your humble servant.
So specifically, talking about your experience working for a nonprofit, how does that differ from just when you were working in just normal corporate business, and specifically in terms of like, how do you guys get funding? Think about that.
It's like if you look at a business and you're doing a revolver and you're giving them 25% of inventory, you're giving them 80% of under 60-day receivables, and you look at those receivables, bless you, look at those receivables, and the diversity of those receivables determines the strength of that borrowing base and their ability to pay back that revolver. You do not want too much concentration in any one receivable. So we have foundation, no money. Those are our receivables or our money coming in, is the way my mind intellectualizes it, conceptualizes it. We have businesses, we have churches, we have schools, we have individuals, and we want them to be diversified. We do not want to rely too much on the foundations because they want us to go figure out other ways. Man, the foundations in Omaha, Nebraska, they don't have ways to give out as much money as they're trying to. Bill and Ruth Scott Foundation, John got $1 billion. It has a sunset clause, and he's got to give it all out. You give out $60 million in this economy, and at the end of the year, you got more money than you started with. You know, that's a good problem to have. But it's about doing good work. If you do good work, the money will follow. And for us at the Heart Ministry Center, look, it was quintessential customer service. We wanted our customers to expect excellence. It's quintessential client service now. We want them to expect excellence. I'm grateful to have been able to be a part of it because it's run like a business. I've gotten more and more in a voice, and that's important to me. Look, there's no incentive. I'm not getting a bonus. I'm not going to make the money. I'm not going to get the title. Who cares about that? Remember, God's always watching. That excellence piece, right? The community, our culture, the compassion, the accountability. We run that place like a business. We do it that way because we can. And we hold each other to high performance standards. It's no different than in the business. Now, the bank for banks, $150 million to $300 million was in the top 3 in the country. Return on assets, return on equity. We had $97,000 in net charge-offs in 20 years working there. There was no finance committee. My dad approved all the credits. My dad is good at what he does. If he gives money, the money would be paid back. That's another thing that helped me. Interests are mutual in that if the business is successful, the business is going to be able to pay you back. You know, so looking at businesses and being able to critically analyze them was something that I'm grateful that I got to learn at the bank. So they are no different. The same fundamental principles apply. Not enough nonprofits are run like businesses, nor do they have as competent of people in there as there should be. Any business is your ability to have goods and services that are viable and have a market and a product that people want. But what's equally as important, that's just the outside, right? That 225-pound person who's 30 went to rehab. What do the financials look like? What's it look like on the inside? Because if you don't have those financials right, it's going to die. So a lot of people don't know how to account for that aspect of the business, whether you're in the nonprofit world or people who are trying to get a business up and off the ground. So know what you know how to do and know what you don't know how to do, and get people around you who could do the stuff that you're not good at. And that takes lack of ego, and it takes a self-awareness. Don't try and be all things to all people.
Any other questions? Mark, I can't imagine a better last speaker for our symposium this year. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Very grateful.